Hey guys, welcome to your channel Digital Empaths, and I'm your host Sushant Ajmani. So in our today's Weekend Knowledge series, we are going to continue discussing on our topic, which is how to improve the adoption of your dashboards and scorecards. This is a part 3 of this particular conversation. If you haven't watched our last 2 episodes, I would highly recommend you go to our channel Digital Empaths and watch the part 1 and part 2 of this particular series. So in the part 1, we discussed on a certain problem statement that your organization has recently gone for a new self-service BI platform, which could be Power BI, Click, or Tableau. And as a part of the BI and analytics team, you have spent months and months setting up the data infrastructure on the cloud, rolling out the tabular data model behind the scene, and also set up very targeted dashboards and scorecards for different business functions. But unfortunately, the adoption rate for these dashboards and scorecard is quite low. And now there is a lot of pressure on you and your team to fix this particular problem because the organization is trying to get the ROI from this investment, which we have done in setting up the BI infrastructure on the cloud and also setting up these dashboards and scorecards. So now comes the question that you have identified that there is a problem with adoption, but you need to go deeper into that problem statement and find out what were the contributing factors behind it. Okay? So in the part 1 of this series, we discussed on one of the approaches conducting a qualitative surveys, okay, in which you need to send a series of questions to the different business users in your organization and ask them to share their concerns with respect to the new BI platform. Are they facing problem because the new BI platform is quite new for them and there's not ample training being provided to them? Or maybe they are too biased towards their incumbent BI system and they don't want to switch. The other reason could be the business users have expressed that there is a challenge with the relevancy and actionability of the storyline that they are consuming it. Or the storyline is not very contextual to the situation in which they are in. Okay? So there could be multiple reasons behind the scene. And in the part 1 of this particular series, we talked about conducting some kind of a survey so that we can gather enough information from these business users and try to identify how to put together a very targeted adoption plan. In the part 2 of this series, what we discussed was that after you run a survey, you have gathered enough information from these business users, and what you did was you built different clusters. These clusters could be around the different problem statements that business users have expressed, or these clusters could be around the different business functions they belong to. Or you can do a blend of both. For example, the marketing team have expressed a concern that we love the new BI ecosystem, but unfortunately, the storyline is not relevant to our personas. Or maybe the supply chain team expressed a concern that the storyline is not forward-looking. It is only talking about the fact that what happened the day before or in the last week. But in our business, what we want to know, what happened today and what kind of a corrective action we can take in the next 3 or 4 hours. Okay? But when you looked at the executives might have expressed a concern that, you know what, for us it's very difficult to log into the BI platform and try to derive the insights based on the dashboards that you have published for me. For me, the more important piece is that if you could have generated more curated insights, and these curated insights are articulated in simple English and it's easily accessible via mobile application because I'm always traveling. I don't have time to go on my desktop, log into the Power BI or Tableau or Click as a BI platform, log into my dashboard and try to make sense out of all those different charts and annotations. So depending on the persona of an audience, you might get a different types of feedback. Now, in the last episode, we talked about that how to cluster this feedback and how to build small cohorts cohorts of business users which have common problems and try to target them in one way. Okay. Now, in today's episode, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about that before you put together an executable plan to solve the adoption problem, you need to put together a measurement framework. Because ultimately, you want to gauge that all those new initiatives that you're going to take to improve the adoption, are they really working or not working? Okay? So oftentimes what most of the organizations do is they start with conducting training workshops. Okay? And unfortunately, these training workshops are not very well received. Because oftentimes these training workshops are very tool focused rather than use case focused or the department focused. And in my past experience, I've seen multiple times that whenever you call a big training group sitting in a class and you start teaching them the GUI interface, the nuts and bolts of how this BI tool works, it does not connect with the audience very well. Okay? Because at the end of the day, we have to think from their perspective that why they are logging into the tool and accessing the storyline. If I'm a marketing person, my objective is I want to understand how my campaigns are performing. Which channels are giving me the better ROI and which channels are not giving me the better ROI. Which channels are giving me a higher cost per acquisition or a lower cost per acquisition. Which channels my CPM and CPC is quite higher. Which channels I have an opportunity to improvise my campaign creative, which channels I don't have that opportunity. Okay, so there could be multiple questions that are there in the mind of your marketing users. So teaching them about the tool, keeping these use cases in mind, have a better impact. The same thing can apply to supply chain team. If you are targeting maybe a head of supply chain operations or maybe a warehousing manager or maybe a reverse logistics manager, so you need to understand their role in the organization. You need to understand the responsibilities do they play, what kind of KPIs they are accountable for. So it's very, very important that when you are conducting a training workshop for these different personas or these different business functions, you need to tailor your training agenda according to their persona. Do not try to generalize the training because those days are over. People have very limited time and their attention time span is also very low. So when they are committing to the training workshop, when they're going to be sitting there for maybe 2 hours to 3 hours, maybe over a period of next day, maybe 4 days or 5 days, it's very important that once they go back to their desk, they should know precisely that how to get the value out of this particular tool. Okay, that's very, very important. So if you're conducting a training workshop, it's very important to know how many people are participating. Okay, the people who have participated, which department do they belong to? Okay, the people who are not participating, which departments they are from, because that's also very important. Oftentimes what happens is the first 2-3 training workshops, you might see a better attendance. But as the training workshop scales up, you will see the attendance starts going down. And those are the kind of early warning signals you need to tap on, that what kind of new initiatives you need to take to make these training workshops more sticky and more resonating with their needs. The other important thing to figure it out from the metric point of view is that what is the frequency and recency of login into the BI portal? What percentage of users are accessing the dashboards at least once in a day, or maybe at least once in a week, or maybe at least once in a month? It's very important that frequency of access tells a lot about the behavior. If a lot of time people are accessing maybe let's say once in a week, is this the reason because they are not finding the storyline relevant? Maybe the underlying data model is only refreshed once in a week. So there is no incentive for them to access the dashboard multiple times during the week. Okay, so it's very important to understand, is it really a problem or is it really a function of the data refresh which is happening behind the scene? The other metric that you need to keep in mind is that number of active users per month. Okay, it's very, very important metric because you want to know how many people are being active month over month. If that number is going down, it's a warning signal. The other important metric you need to look at is the number of new users are getting added every month. Because if you want to scale up in the organization, you need to make sure not only within a department but across the different functions, how many new users are getting added. Okay? The other metric you need to focus on is the type of requests which are coming from the business users, because that is a very wonderful way to gauge whether your dashboards are really getting accessed or not. Are they really getting connected with the users or not? If people are not asking any questions at all, that doesn't mean the dashboard is doing its fantastic job. Oftentimes people are lazy enough to ask questions because they have alternative mediums of getting the same information. What happens is people are already hooked up to their incumbent platforms. It could be Excel, maybe the traditional BI platforms like Cognos or Business Objects, and they're quite used to it. Okay? And now suddenly a new BI tool has been launched within the company. So what is the motivation for them to access it? And even if they are accessing it, they don't find the storyline too different. They find it's kind of an apple to apple or maybe apple to oranges. So there is not much significant difference. And there's no difference, there is no motivation for them to log into this new tool and learn the look and feel that how to slice the data, how to dice it, how to look at the different charts. And oftentimes if you're working in a large CPG, FMCG companies or maybe BFSI companies, you would find there are not many millennials or Gen Y or Gen Z's audience. Okay, you would find people in their late 40s or maybe in 50s. And these are the kind of people who takes a lot of time to adopt new tools. So for them, you need to have a different provision to tackle the adoption problem. Okay. The other thing you need to track it on a weekly, monthly, and fortnightly basis is the number of complaints people are logging against the new BI platform. Oftentimes people log a complaint that, you know what, I'm not very sure about how this data is getting structured before it is showing here. I want to understand what is happening behind the scene. I want to understand how the data is getting mined. I want to know what are the different computations have been put in place. I want to know what is the computation behind these different metrics, the numerator and denominators. I want to know how often the data is getting refreshed. I want to know what are the different source databases from where this data is coming from. Okay, and what is the definition of these data sources? So these are the kind of questions are also a healthy question, which also tells you that there is also a further rounds of trainings that needs to be conducted for these kind of power users or mid-management users who are more hungry about the source rather than just consuming the application layer. Sometimes people raise concerns with respect to the data quality. And remember, the data quality is not a new problem. It's been there for years and it takes time to fix that problem. You don't need to aspire for 100% or 90% data accuracy in order to get a better adoption. There are ways to circumvent that problem, and we will talk about is that how to circumvent the data quality issues, okay, in some of the other future episodes. The other thing that you need to track it, the number of requests that you have received from the business users with respect to enhancements, where they feel that, you know what, the story is good, but it's always talking about the past. It's always telling me about the previous week or previous month or previous quarter. I'm an executive. For me, the forward-looking view is more important. I want to understand which campaigns I should be running in the coming week. Okay, which categories I should be focusing more on in the coming month. We're approaching the holiday season, okay? I will have to maintain my gross profit percentage. Now, which kind of products can help me deliver a better GP percentage? Which kind of product bundles I should design that can give me a better GP percentage? What kind of buyers I should go after? Should I focus exclusively my energy on my B2C audience during the holiday season, or my SMBs also demonstrate the similar behavior like my B2C audience during the holiday season? Okay, so we need to understand what kind of questions and enhancement requests coming from the business users, because that gives us an opportunity to augment the existing storyline and make it relevant for them. Oftentimes people ask questions, okay? The number of questions people are raising, these questions could be around how to use the tool effectively. how to interpret these particular charts. Because a lot of time when we set up a dashboard, we try to make it too sexy looking. We try to put all kind of sexy looking charts like your box and whisker, your scatter plot, your bubble chart, okay? And what happens is your old school users are not quite well versed with those different type of charts. They don't understand those 3 dimensions. They don't understand those medians, those modes. So for them, everything is very simple. Trend lines, vertical bars, horizontal bars, maybe a pie chart. So it's important to understand that how comfortable they are with these new types of charts. And do I need to really simplify the things for them or not? Okay. So these are some of the very important metrics that should be a part of your measurement framework. And you need to capture these metrics on a weekly, fortnightly, and monthly basis, depending on how often you want to capture it. Based on my experience, I think fortnight is a very decent frequency to start with because weekly you would not feel much changes. So fortnight and monthly is a very good time frame to capture some of these metrics. And as you scale up, as you see the adoption getting better, maybe you can start capturing on a monthly basis. Now comes the other problem, which is once you have the measurement framework in place, now how to go about implementing an adoption plan, okay? What are some of those new innovative ideas that you can implement to improve the adoption problem? See, it's very easy to keep on augmenting the existing dashboards and scorecards. But remember one thing, you don't want to over-engineer your dashboards and scorecards because there is a purpose for that particular medium. And not every medium is self-sufficient to answer every possible question that the business user has. So you need to respect the boundaries of that particular consumption medium. So if the medium is dashboard and a scorecard, and we know that based on the history, they are a fantastic medium to communicate the past, okay? The past behavior is very nicely articulated through the dashboards. At the most, you can also add some kind of a forecast, okay? Now comes the question that you want to improve the adoption. And you feel as a part of the BI analytics team that the story I have in place is pretty self-sufficient. But business users still have lots of questions. So what you can do is, you have multiple ways to solve that particular problem. Either you can take a bundle approach. Just like we create a product bundles on our website to improve our average order value or the units per transaction. Similarly, you can create insights bundle. And what does insights bundle means is that how can I bundle my dashboards and scorecards with some more mediums of communication so that my dashboards and these alternative mediums of consumption combined together form a cohesive, comprehensive story. For example, let's say you're working with a supply chain team and you know that in a supply chain world, every day is a challenge. Every day is a challenge. They wait for a good day. Now, if every day is a challenge, there are lots of metrics that shows ups and downs, your loads, your unloads, your inventory fill rates, your service levels, your safety stock percentages, okay, the amount of working capital that you are locking in the inventory, your transportation cost, and your dynamics between you and your third-party logistics provider, your warehouse capacity. Some of these measures changes quite frequently during the day. So it's very important that whenever some of these measures are changing during the day, try to notify your business stakeholders, especially your mid-management team, your warehouse managers, your reverse logistic manager, your production scheduler, okay? Some of these guys want more near real-time insights. So it's better to send them alerts, notifications, either through WhatsApp, through email. Those are the fantastic ways to communicate them. And give them an incentive to come back to the dashboard for a bigger picture, okay? So you can bundle up your alerts and notifications with your existing storyline, okay? The other way is, oftentimes the businesses don't see too many changes during the day, sometimes not even during the week, unless and until your business is very promotional, okay? There's a lot of dynamism associated to it. If your business is not showing too much fluctuations during the week, what you can do is you can come up with more like a fortnightly newsletters where you can show week over week comparisons. You can show why certain trend shifts are happening. What are the causalities behind it? You can talk about some correlation. You can do some variance analysis. Maybe you can show how well we are in track to achieve our forecasted number at the end of 2 weeks or at the end of the month. How much variance we are seeing between the actual numbers and the forecasted numbers. If you have built some kind of a simulation and you want to empower your users to play with some kind of a simulation tool which empowers them to better prepare for the coming 2 weeks, why not do that? Bundle up your simulations, bundle up your newsletters with your incumbent dashboards and scorecards so that they can see a complete picture that where the problem is and what they need to attack on. Okay. Another idea that I want to share with you guys is that, see, majority of the organizations that I've worked in the past, in fact, more than 200 companies that I've consulted in the last 20 years, 75 to 80% of them have a very centralized BI and analytics operations. And in today's world, a centralized team catering the needs of 100,000 people in a large CPG FMCG brand is impossible. Impossible. Okay, your BI analytics team could be like 15, 20, 25 people. But if you have to cater the need of such a wide array of audience, you need to go for a federated model. Okay, just break your current BI analytics team, decentralize it, and position your proxies in each and every different business functions. My suggestion is the best practice is put a combination of an analyst and a data scientist in each and every business function of your organization. And let them work on the front line. Let them work closely with your warehousing manager, your marketing manager, your online merchandiser, your e-commerce manager, and your 4P guy. Let these people experience the day-to-day challenges. Let these people feel what are their day-to-day data needs are. Okay, where the gaps are in terms of the current insights and how to bridge those gaps. And once you have these proxies in place, these proxies can continuously in touch with their mothership, which is your centralized hub, which is your, what I call it as a center of excellence analytics team. And this team job is to help define standards, the benchmarks, define those baselines, define the better way of consuming the insights. This central team is responsible for innovation, responsible for adoption, scale-ups. And whenever these proxies come back to the mothership or to this hub with the feedback that, you know what, marketing is facing these kind of challenges in the current story, probably we need to tweak the story in this way. Or maybe I should build some kind of a customized attribution model, maybe some propensity to buy model for them, maybe some kind of an LTV analysis I should do, and try to connect that story with the incumbent dashboards and scorecard that we've built in Power BI or Tableau. Okay, so having a duo of an analyst and data scientist in each function helps that particular function to learn the semantics behind the data and try to empathize that how these analysts and data scientists actually work. And it will also give an opportunity to your analysts and data scientists to also understand that how the different business users perceive them, their day-to-day challenges, and if possible, be a part of those review meetings. Because most of the business users, they have weekly or fortnightly touch base with the top guy, okay, with the VP and SVP and above, where they need to present their status report at how the business performed in the last week or in the last quarter, in the last month. Let your duo of analysts and data scientists sit in those review meetings as a silent listen. Just listen it. What kind of conversations happen? Are these conversations are always around the data quality? Are they really talking about the real business? Are they talking about the forward-looking approach? Are they talking about the past? Are they looking for some causality? What kind of conversations are happening based on the data and where the gaps are? And that is a fantastic way to learn where the gaps are instead of waiting for the business user or executive to come to you maybe after a quarter or 6 months and say, you know what, the current tool sucks. Remember, no BI tool sucks. Okay? Whether it's Tableau, Power BI, Click, Cognos, Business Object, whichever platform do you use, you cannot blame the platform. Adoption is not just a function of a good or a bad platform. There are many more factors which influence adoption. These self-service BI platforms are enablers. And we, as a part of the BI and analytics team, it's our responsibility that how best we leverage the power behind these platforms and make the life easier for our business users. Okay. The other important lesson I've learned is that the business users are often too much involved into the day-to-day operations. Okay. And they lack that creative aspect. They lack the knack of experimentation. And if you are a data-driven organization or you're aspiring to be a data-driven organization, you need to have a culture of experimentation. Okay? And the best way to run these experiments is to identify the champions in each and every function. See, remember, every business function would have one or two business users who are always hungry, your power users. Okay? Leverage them. Leverage them and run some basic experiments within those particular business functions so that it teaches them how to derive the best out of this data. Okay? Even if you are running, if you let's say if you build some kind of a simulation model, okay, and you are helping the marketing team in understanding that how much budget they should invest in display campaigns on social as well as on Google if they have to achieve this kind of a cost per acquisition. Okay, what kind of a budget they need to invest in. Now, you cannot just have a simulator and expect that some wonders will happen. Someone still needs to run an experiment, and this experiment needs to be run in collaboration with your media agency. So it's better to take these power users and a duo of your analysts and data scientists and try to run a very small focused experiments and see that how well these simulators are really adding value to the business. Similarly, if you have built some kind of a recommendation engine or some kind of a portal or an app through which you are giving recommendations to different business users, you need to test those recommendations, because remember that it is easier for the business user to accept your past behavior. But if you are telling them something which is futuristic, which is you're making some prediction, you are building some kind of a simulator, or you are giving them some recommendation, trust is going to play a very big role. And you need, the best way to build a trust is to run experiments. Run an experiment with a small focus group and see the impact, and then based on that you pivot. You also need to leverage these power users in each and every business function to be your data literacy champions. Because ultimately, a small group of 15-20 people, be an analytics team, can't run a whole data literacy program across the organization of 100,000 people. So you need more and more proxies, you need ambassadors, you need data literacy champions in each and every business function who can work in collaboration with that hub, the mothership, and start inculcating knowledge within their individual department. Okay? And remember, if you are able to do this with 2 or 3 departments, they become your lighthouse for the organization, and other departments can also learn from their experiences. Okay? So run advisory meetings. Just like we have a customer advisory boards, like most of the large consulting firms have it, they invite their customers, they collect the feedback from them, they take that constructive feedback and try to evolve their service or solution offering. Okay? And that feedback also tells them that in which context the customers operate usually, and what their future roadmap looks like, and how, as a part of a consulting firm, you can be a part of that particular roadmap. So it's important that internally also the BI and analytics team should host the advisory meetings with different business functions. Invite them. Schedule a time based on their convenience. Okay, could be on Fridays, on Thursdays in the evenings, and keep it open-ended. Keep it open-ended. Ask them what about their day-to-day challenges, how their last week has been. Okay, what the roadmap for this quarter looks like, or for the coming quarter looks like. Are there any big promotions in line? Are there any campaigns they're going to run in the coming week or months? Are there new product lines that they're going to start? Any new categories they're investing? Any acquisitions in line? Try to gauge what's coming. And based on that, you try to be proactive in augmenting your storyline in the dashboards and scorecards. Because not always the business users will come to you with the feedback that I want to change the storyline in this way. Sometimes, as a part of the BI and analytics team, we also have to do proactive augmentation. That's very, very important. So hey, these are some of the ideas and some of the lessons which I have learned in the industry over the last 20 years. I hope you might find this beneficial for your organization too. And again, these are my own personal experiences. I would highly urge you try it out at a smaller scale, maybe start with one business function. Try it out. Learn from your experiences, and whatever new learnings you have, please post it in the comment section and below this video. I'm always keen to learn from your experiences. Okay, so in our next episode, we'll go deeper into this particular topic and we'll talk about some more techniques to improve the adoption. So until then, hasta pronto, stay safe, stay connected. And if you have any questions, any comments, any feedback, please don't forget to post it in the comment section. Take care.